Today is Thursday, January 5th, and this is William Michael of the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. When I was really digging in to my classical studies as a college student, I started to realize that I was heading into a crisis because my life was becoming more and more sedentary, and I really didn't know how to live a sedentary life. I was raised in a working class family. I was raised playing sports, and I was always active, could just about always eat whatever I wanted, and I just burned it all off in sports. But after my conversion to Christianity, as I began to really focus my life's work on intellectual pursuits, I started to realize that something had to be done in order to maintain a healthy physical body as far as was realistically possible within that intellectual life. I didn't want to distract myself from my intellectual pursuits because I wanted to pursue them with all my might, with all the time that I had. But I knew that I was going to become very physically weak, and there was no reason for it. And a funny story, I sort of came to this realization when I was about 20 years old. There was a time when I was at class on campus and it started to rain, and I had to run from my class across campus to the parking deck to get in my car to leave. And it was the first time that I had even jogged in a long time. I had just been studying so much, and the next day when I woke up, my shoulders were sore. That's how much I had fallen out of shape. Forget about sore legs or ankles or anything like that. Just jogging across campus made my shoulders sore. That's how out of shape I had become. So I knew I had to do something about it. But at the same time, I was growing in my devotional life and in my spiritual disciplines, in my studies, and I didn't want to interrupt that. And I remember at that time looking around. The internet was really just developing at that time, and I remember searching and looking around for anything that I could find on physical fitness for intellectuals, and there was nothing. And so I really had to develop my own plan for what I was going to do, how I was going to eat, what sort of exercise I would do, how I would keep my physical body in shape, not for any kind of vain appearance. I wasn't concerned about looking a certain way or checking off any modern fitness boxes. I simply didn't want my physical body to become a hindrance in my life. I didn't want to suffer from bad health unnecessarily. I wanted to keep my body healthy, and I wanted to keep myself physically disciplined. St. Paul writes in the New Testament, "I buffet my body and make it my slave." So I knew that it was not responsible to simply let my body go, as many men do when they get into intellectual pursuits. That's why we have this G.K. Chesterton-like obese intellectual, which there's no reason for. We may find Chesterton entertaining, but he's not a good model of Christian self-discipline. Certainly, St. Paul didn't look like G.K. Chesterton, and I didn't want to look like G.K. Chesterton. And I don't know how men live like that, honestly, because if I gain 10 pounds, I can feel the difference, and I feel terrible. So I wanted to maintain a physical discipline, but I didn't want it to become a distraction. I didn't want to follow the advice of Muscle and Fitness magazine or Men's Health or all of these modern resources, because they're out of balance. They don't have a balance of soul and body. The soul is not set as more important than the body. They're not necessarily committed first to the responsibilities of the Christian life. Many of them do little more than take care of their bodies. And so I wanted nothing to do with that modern fitness culture, because I knew it was not sustainable and it was out of balance. And yet when I looked for any kind of plans or advice for physical fitness for intellectuals, there was just nothing to be found. You were either all the way into fitness, or you were just, what I used to call a fat Figuera, because I had a chubby history professor in college who I loved, one of my mentors, but he sort of represented this sort of chubby intellectual. And it was two extremes, and I wanted to live at the golden mean between those extremes, taking care of my body without distracting from my spiritual or intellectual life. So I had to do a lot of it on my own. Today, I'm 47 years old, and I thank God that I enjoy almost perfect health, and year after year I've enjoyed perfect health. And while I credit all of that to God as its cause, I still think that as far as my own responsibility in that is concerned, I think I have established a realistic, I wouldn't even say plan, because it's not anything formal or complicated, but a routine or discipline that is effective and sustainable and healthful, and doesn't distract from priorities in life, and can be pursued within the context of a busy intellectual, business, family life without being much of a distraction. And I'd like to talk about that a little bit and share some of the details. Now, I'm not going to try to make everyone happy in this. I'm going to talk about what I actually do, and I'll give reasons for it. I know that whenever someone talks about a topic like this, people immediately start objecting, and that's one of the reasons why no one makes any progress, because the fault-finding critical spirit usually never results in any positive practice. And I'm more interested in the positive practice, the actual practice, than in the critics who have no positive practice to recommend and just find fault or simply object to anything they hear. So I don't care if anyone's going to object to this or that. I'm going to tell you and explain what I do because it works, and I practice it year after year after year within the context of a busy, responsible Catholic life. So I know when I was younger, it was very hard to find older men who would share practical advice about daily life, really mundane, simple things. That's what I wanted to know about. I wasn't interested in all of this big, pie-in-the-sky talk. I wanted to talk about practical life. I wanted to know how men lived and things like that. I was concerned with actually becoming a virtuous man, and really, I never could find anyone who was interested in talking about those practical things. And so I had to develop a lot of these practices and sort of draw out these principles myself. I didn't prepare this talk, but I'm just going to walk through what I do to recommend it as at least a starting point for other men in my circumstances. And I think I can recommend it to you as being sustainable and effective and satisfying. So let's just get into some of the details. I'm self-employed. I'm very busy. I work 16 or so hours a day, sedentary most of that time. All of my work is desk work, intellectual work. I get almost no physical exercise during the day outside of the actual time that I spend exercising for the sake of physical exercise. And yet I'm healthy and I'm strong and I'm fit and agile. I'm happy with my physical condition, even though so much of my time is spent at the desk working, making a living to provide for my family, a large family. So it's an important balance. Now, what I do is I put in my work day, and I don't even think about exercise at all. I just get to my desk and put my hours in of work. And then usually around 4 o'clock, 4:30, so if you're working in an office, maybe you get finished later than that. But I can wrap up around 4:30, and from 4:30 or so to 7 o'clock p.m., I devote that time of my day to physical fitness and physical care. I take care of my body during that time. So from around 4:30 to 7 p.m. I don't have much time. There's no time outside of that for any physical exercise or physical work of any kind. And so I need to make good use of this time. And at the same time, I still have other things to do. So I have to try to multitask and do as much as I can during this physical exercise time. So what I do is I set aside about an hour and a half. So around 4:30, I'll change into my exercise clothes, and I just go out to the road outside where we live, and I just walk and run for 5 miles. I do 5 miles every single day. My goal is to walk 5 miles a day. That's it. My goal is to walk 5 miles a day. If you walk at a fast pace, you can walk between 14 and 15 minutes per mile. So a 5-mile walk you can get done in an hour and 15 minutes or so, hour and 20 minutes. If you walk a little slower, it just takes a little longer. If you jog more, it takes less time. It really doesn't matter, but my goal is a distance goal. It's to at least walk 5 miles per day. If I'm feeling good, I might run 3 of those 5 miles. I might run 2 of those 5 miles. If something's sore or I just feel I feel weary one day, I'll just walk the 5 miles. But the goal is to walk 5 miles each day. I use an app. You can download the app. It's the one I use is Adidas Running, and it sort of tracks your time, tracks your speed, tracks your distance, keeps all those records for you, and you can just glance at it as you're going and making sure you're keeping the pace that you want, track your exercise and all that kind of stuff. So I just start the app when I start walking, and I'll try to walk as close to 5 miles an hour as I can, somewhere between 4.5 to 4.8 miles per hour is usually where I can walk, which is pretty fast. But and then, as I said, if I feel good, I'll jog, and I'll just leave the app to track whatever I do. I'll do as much as I want to, but the goal again is just to walk 5 miles a day. That app tells me that I burn around 800 calories each day with that workout. So if you understand, the sort of common talk about fat and calories, the nutritionists usually explain that a pound of fat can be burned when we burn 3,500 calories. So if you're burning 800 calories a day, that's 5 days or even less, between 4 and 5 days, you can burn 3,500 calories, which is the equivalent of a pound of stored fat energy. So if you develop a routine like that and just keep it regularly, you're going to lose any extra weight that you have, and you're going to easily be able to keep it off. And even though you spend most of your time at a desk, you're still living what would be considered an active life because of the amount of time and the distance that you spend walking or jogging. And that's it. It's really that simple. What's great about walking, there's a couple things about walking. You know, as I said, I grew up playing sports. So when I first thought about walking, I was really turned off because I didn't think it was challenging enough. You know, I used to run and train when I was younger. And so the thought of walking for exercise just seemed goofy to me. But as I got into it and started to do it, you realize that, you know, you can push yourself walking as hard as you want. You can physically walk as fast as you can. And there's sort of no limit to how hard you can push yourself walking. And when you get yourself really walking and pushing yourself strenuously, it's a great whole body workout, healthy. The other thing is when I would run, I'm a pretty good runner, but I would have, you know, I'd develop, you know, sore hips, or my knee would hurt, or I'd get some pain in my ankles and things like that. There were always these little aches and pains from running. And with walking, you really never have any of those troubles. So I've just found that in order to maintain a daily discipline that's sustainable and enjoyable, and I'm going to talk a bit more about some of the benefits of walking in a minute, to have a sustainable daily routine that I actually look forward to and enjoy, walking is the best option. And walking doesn't mean lazily strolling around, you know, looking at the clouds. Like I said, you can push yourself to walk as fast as possible, and using the app, which is helpful, you can see those numbers and get sort of an objective goal for how fast you'd like to try to walk each day. So I find that a very satisfying daily workout. I push myself as hard as I can for about an hour and 15 minutes. Sometimes I run a little bit, sometimes I run a lot, just depending on how I feel. I leave the software, the app, to track all the data, and I just focus on getting my daily exercise in. Now, another investment that I've made in my own family is that I've purchased some weightlifting equipment, so I can do some upper body weight training and things like that. And if you want a recommendation, there's a company. I think the company's name is Marcy. They make a weight bench that cost about $300. I can share a link if you'd like a more exact recommendation. But I purchased a Marcy weight bench for the house and a 300-pound weight set, an Olympic weight set, and that's all you need. The total for those two pieces, the weight bench and the weight set, will run around $600, and that's that. You've got everything you need between walking and jogging and a weight bench and a weight set. You've got everything you need for fitness in your own house, and so that's what I've done. And we've had weight equipment in the house for almost a decade now. And what's cool about having the weight equipment in the house, too, is that the kids will use it. My son Jonathan, my oldest, he got into weightlifting when he was around 13 years old and got very serious with it. He works at a gym today. My second oldest son is a physical trainer who also works at a gym. So they really took interest in exercise and fitness and went into the military and all that because of us having weight equipment at the house, just out in the garage. So it was a great investment for our family, and it provides me with everything that I need to do some upper body exercise whenever I want to. But let me just talk about that a bit. Like I said, I have no interest in any kind of appearance goals or any of the modern vanity. I'm a modest man. I don't think I've been in public with no shirt on in my whole life. Even when I was a kid, I was always dressed. I always wore, long sleeves, sweatshirts, turtlenecks when I played sports. I always liked to be covered. So I've never been the kind of person, even at the beach. I've just always had sort of a modest spirit, and I'm not that sort of person that wants to walk around or sit around with no shirt on. So I have no interest in appearance or standing in front of mirrors or anything like that. I simply want to feel good. I simply want to feel strong. So I don't follow any sort of weight training routine or anything like that. I do whatever I want, whatever I feel like I'd like to work on, whatever I feel like I'd like to exercise, just so my whole body feels strong and agile and flexible and so on. So I might go walk for an hour and, hour, 15 minutes, get back to the house and do some bench press, do some arm curls, do some, back rows, some shoulder lifts and things like that. And that's it. I just do whatever I want. There's no pressure. There's no real detailed goals. I just do what feels good. What parts of my body I feel I need to exercise. I just work on them with no difficult goals or, stress or frustration or anything like that. I just do whatever I want. I just try to keep my whole body active and strong and flexible. But between walking and, a weight bench and a weight set, you really don't need anything else. And I've found that to be best. I've had a weight equipment ever since I was a kid. Even in my house, we had a Nautilus machine and some free weights and things like that. So I think it's an important investment for the family to get a weight bench, and you can buy a 300-pound weight set with the Olympic bar. If you need any recommendations for this stuff, and just let me know, and I'll show you exactly what I'd recommend. But it's pretty simple. Like I said, $600 gets you everything: a quality weight bench and 300-pound weight set, everything you need. That's all it would cost, and it's a lifetime investment if you take care of it. So anyway. That's what I do. I go out around 4:30, put an hour and 15 minutes or so in walking, jogging, and then when I'm finished, I'll come back to the house, and if I feel like it, I'll lift weights a little, do something like that. If I don't feel like it, I won't. There's no stress, because my physical fitness goal every day is just to walk 5 miles. That's the only goal that I concern myself with. Everything else is extra. Jogging is extra. Lifting weights is extra. Anything else is extra. The walking 5 miles is my goal. If I do that, I'm happy for that day physically. Now, I said before that there are some real benefits of walking, and these are things that I've really come to appreciate over time. One of the things is, I'm saying go out and exercise for an hour and 15. That's a lot of time. You can get a lot done during that hour and 30 minutes or so of exercise. And what I do is I use that time to listen to audiobooks. And I'm talking serious stuff. I'm talking Summa Theologica, Aristotle's philosophical works, things like that. So while I'm doing my walking, I spend that whole time listening to theology and philosophy readings. And I have a LibriVox app on my phone, and I'll simply play the book and listen as I walk. And then if I come to a point where I feel like I'm sort of getting in over my head, I'll just back up and re-listen to the previous part. I'll pause it and memorize definitions and things like that as they come up. For example, today, I was listening to St. Thomas in the Summa Theologica on the passions of the soul, and he defined a passion as the effect caused by the agent in the patient. And I took a few minutes just to really drill that in and memorize that. A passion is an effect caused by an agent in a patient. And I'll do things like that. Just pause the reading, spend some time memorizing a definition or an important bit of information that I'd really like to keep hold of. Another one today was St. Thomas explained that there are 4 principal passions: joy, sorrow, hope, and fear. And he explained that joy is present. The presence, or I should say, joy pertains to a present good. Sorrow pertains to a present evil. Hope pertains to a future good, and fear pertains to a future evil. And I memorized that as I was walking this evening. So that's what I do while I walk. I listen to philosophy readings, I listen to theology, and I work my mind and study and think while I'm physically exercising. So I get both done. You can't do that running. And that's one of my objections to running. When I choose to run, even though I may have a reading playing while I'm running, I can't concentrate on it. I can't think. I can't recite something. I'm not going to stop and pause the reading. If I'm running, I'm running. If I'm walking, I'm relaxed enough physically. Even though I'm pushing myself hard walking, it's not like running because you can concentrate on thinking and studying and listening at the same time. And that's another reason why I think walking is best, because you can do both of these things at the same time. And it's funny because as I'm walking, I'm thinking to myself, what could be the more perfect fulfillment of human nature but this, to be physically exercising while also engaged intellectually in philosophical and theological studies? Is this not what it means to be a human being, or what? So I just find that time of my daily walking and studying to be really satisfying and helpful. And sometimes I'll just hear something in the reading while I'm walking, and then later on in the evening when I get back to my desk and settle down, I'll dig into that. I'll pull the book up on the computer, or if I've got a copy, I'll open it up at my desk, and I'll trace out that passage that I heard while I was walking, and really zoom in on it because it's fresh in my mind, and I've learned so much by this practice because I've been doing this for years, and so much of my philosophical and theological learning has been accomplished during my walking time, during my exercise time. So that's another really great benefit of walking. Another benefit, like I said, is it's less impactful on the body, on our bones and ligaments and joints, less injuries. You can do multiple things at the same time. It's very convenient. Other people can exercise with you because you're just walking. I mean, you can take an easy day. If my wife is interested in taking a walk with me, I can just slow it down for a day and enjoy the company of someone else while I exercise. Whereas it's hard to find anyone to run with. I can run with my older children because they're soldiers, but to be able to go for a walk with someone, you can exercise with other people. Another thing is we can go for a walk, and I can let my younger kids come out with me, and they can ride their bikes while I walk, and we can have some time together. Even though we're not exercising together, we're able to go out on those walks together. They can ride their bike while I walk and things like that. So it's nice for the family to allows other people to participate. If I'm going out to run, I'm going to go by myself because I don't want to be distracted. And I can't run slow. It defeats the whole point of running. So walking is better as a family and a social activity. You can do it anywhere. You can't run everywhere. For example, we go to a local park, and there's sort of this winding walking trail around the park. You really can't run on a curvy walking trail. So walking is just better anywhere you go. You go hiking, take a ride to the mountains, go to the lake. You can walk anywhere, and it's just it's a satisfying form of exercise that's always convenient. And really, like I said, if you push yourself walking, it's a great workout. It can really be a great workout, and you burn a lot of calories. You exercise your whole body. It helps with your posture. Everything about it is good. So I think it's the ultimate exercise, and that's what I've found through my experience through the years. So that's that in terms of daily exercise. And like I said, you can practice that every day. very easy to maintain, very pleasant, intellectually beneficial, being able to study and think while you're out walking, listen to books, read. It's just a great use of time. My favorite time of the day by far. I look forward to my exercise time all day because it's just a very pleasant time. So I wrap up with that. Let's say 5:30 or so. I get back to the house, and then I usually take some time to take a shower and get changed for the evening. Get into some clean, comfortable clothes for the evening, and then I really do the majority of my professional work in the evening into the late hours of the morning or early hours of the morning. So the real load of my professional work I actually do after I exercise in the evening, and I'll explain why a little bit. So again, my day is get up, do my daily work. I learned this principle also from St. Dominic because it said that he devoted his day to his neighbor and his nights to God. His day to his neighbor and his nights to God. And I found that to be a pretty cool way of looking at life. I've got to interact with other families and students and business contacts and things like that. We do that during daytime hours. So my daytime hours are devoted to my neighbor, to my service and work for others. And then the night is where I sort of have that time to myself to really dig into my studies, into my life's work and things like that. So that's how I handle things. You notice I haven't spoken much about eating because I don't eat very much. I don't eat any breakfast. I usually have a cup of coffee when I first wake up. I'll have a cup of coffee, and then I'll fill a water bottle up with water for the day. I usually sip on that throughout the day. I guess it's about 4 cups of water, size water bottle that I sip through the day. And that's it until my exercise time at 4:30. I haven't eaten anything all day, and I'll go out, do my exercise, come in, shower, then I'll have a little bit of time, and we eat a late dinner in our family, sometimes as late as 9 o'clock, and that'll be my food for the day. So I'll eat dinner with my family. We all sit down together and have a calm dinner at the table together. And that's my food for the day. I don't worry about what I eat. I eat whatever my wife prepares. I don't give any attention to nutrition because I'm eating one meal a day. I'm not going to gain weight. I'm not overeating anything. There's no overindulgence. I just eat whatever's set before me. Whatever my wife makes for the kids and serves for dinner, that's what I eat. I don't worry about it at all. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. I just sit and eat, and I eat as much as I want. If I want 2 plates of food, I'll eat 2 plates of food. But I just eat whatever's served at dinner, and I don't get into any nutritional, controversies or ideas or anything like that. I eat whatever my wife prepares every day, and I eat as much of it as I want to. And that's that. So that's dinner, and then in the evening, I'll get back to my work. Usually I'll spend a little bit of time with my wife before she goes to bed. And then later in the evening, when I settle down for my private work, I'll pour myself a glass of wine or even get a small glass of brandy or something like that and sit at my desk and sip on that through the evening, which sort of helps to comfort my muscles and things after exercising. And I'll get my work done, my most private work, like for example this talk right now, most of my recording work is done after midnight, and I'll stay up as late as I need to until I feel like I've gotten a good amount of work done, and then I'll go to bed and start the next day. So I eat 1 meal a day, maybe a couple cups of coffee during the day, glass of wine, or a little brandy or even a whiskey in the evening, just to calm down. And then, and that's it. It's really very simple, balanced life. Now, just to comment on one thing, the reason why our family takes a late dinner is because my wife works with our kids on their schoolwork all throughout the day, and then they've got all sorts of activities in the evening. My wife is a faith formation teacher. She teaches classes at the parish on Tuesday evenings. My sons wrestle 4 nights a week, so they're out from 6:30 or so, almost to 9 o'clock, 4 days a week. My daughter, she has ballet on Wednesday and Fridays, so that time from 5 o'clock or so, even 4:30 or so until, say, 9 o'clock, my family is usually out of the house. My wife and kids are doing stuff. They've got all their activities, things like that. So I've actually got that time free. That's why I use that time for my exercise, take a shower, settle down, and then when my wife comes home, we all sit down together and have dinner. So that's why we take dinner late at night. The kids, I think, have a lunch. My wife usually, serves them some cocoa or tea or coffee at breakfast time. They have lunch. They go to wrestling practice in the evening, and then we all settle down for the main meal of the day, which is dinner. So that's why I take dinner late. It's not any sort of planned thing. It's just when our family is all together and finished with all our activity for the day, we take dinner together. And like I said, I eat whatever my wife prepares. There's no talk about what I'm going to eat or what I'm not I just eat whatever is served at dinner, and that's it. That's my daily routine. And that gives me, like I said, 16 or so hours available for desk work, for professional work. Gives me 2 hours of physical exercise to do as much as I want, depending on how I feel and what I'd like to do. Time to take a shower in the evening, get washed up and changed. And it's just a sustainable, satisfying, effective routine. And that's all I can say. Somebody can object and say, oh, what you should do. No. Look, I do it every day. It's sustainable within the context of a large family life, running my own business, doing my own intellectual work, on and on. I pray the Liturgy of the Hours every day. I have a balanced, happy, sedentary life, and at the same time, I have sufficient exercise to stay fit. So I feel like it's a sustainable, realistic solution for a man doing academic work with a family, concerned about religious activities. I can go to daily mass if I want to at any time. Doesn't interrupt anything like that, and I stay fit. And I not only do I stay fit, but I use that time to study as well. So, practically speaking, I can't imagine a better routine. And that's why I wanted to share that, simply because it's sustainable, and I've done it for years, and it's very satisfying. I've got adult kids in the military, and they're in ROTC programs, so they're doing daily PT at school and things like that. They come home during breaks. They're in shape and fit. I can go running with my kids, even though I'm 47 years old. We can exercise together. I stay fit just with my walking and jogging. I stay fit enough to work out with my military kids when they're home. So it's an effective discipline of life and routine. And I think a lot of the principles would apply to anybody's life, even if your schedule had to be different because of just different responsibilities and different activities at different times and things like that. But the principles, I think, would apply to anyone's life who struggles finding this balance between intellectual life, spiritual life, and physical fitness. It's a very difficult balance to figure out and maintain. Look around at your parish, you'll see that most men don't have it figured out. But I think that you can maintain a fit, lean, healthy body while living a sedentary, intellectual, professional, busy family life at the same time. So I wanted to share that because I know when I was 20 years old, this talk would have been helpful to me. I'm not saying it's the perfect plan or anything like that. I've already made that clear. But I think the principles that I've talked about can be applied in anyone's life. And if you start with those principles, which are sustainable principles, I think you can find a routine for your daily life that is not only effective in helping you to stay fit, but is also pleasant and satisfying. I don't dread my workout or exercise time. I look forward to it, and I enjoy it when I have it. So I wanted to share that. I hope that that's helpful. If there's anything you'd like to ask about or talk about, if you'd like any more detail on any of those things, I'm happy to dig into it. Very happy to talk about the practical details, because I know the details really are important in a lot of these things. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask or get into, I didn't have someone to ask those questions to when I was 20 years old or 30 years old. I want to make myself available for anyone who has those questions, because I know they're important, and we need experienced older men to be willing to share their practical experience and talk about it with younger men, and I'm happy to do that. So I hope that's helpful. If you've got any questions or want to talk about that, just get in touch anytime. God bless.